Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is mhara.starling. I'm a Suinwraig, a Welsh folk witch, and I'm also a first language Welsh speaker, and I teach on this channel all things to do with Welsh Celtic paganism as well as Welsh witchcraft. Today we're diving in, and yes, that is a pun, you'll understand later, to the realm of Annwfn, the Welsh Otherworld or Underworld. Specifically, we'll be posing the question, is Annwfn a literal other world? Is it another realm of existence? Is it a realm of the dead, a land of fairies, a land of plenty? Or is it just a deepening of our own reality? Keep watching to find out. So before we get started, let me just give you a general brief overview of what Annwfn is, a general definition that we can operate off of for the duration of this video. Annwfn is the cthonic or underground otherworld or underworld of Welsh mythology and folklore. In a lot of Welsh literature, Annwfn is described as one singular realm which is separated into various kingdoms ruled by various kings who are often fighting against one another, as is the case in the first branch of the Mabinogi, where Annwn and Havgan, two kings of Annwfn, are fighting one another. In the folkloric tradition, Annwfn became synonymous with the realm of fairy, with the realm of the Tylwyth Teg, the Gwragedd Annwfn, the Plant Annwfn, all the various fair folk and fair families of Welsh folklore, ruled by none other than Gwyn ap Nudd, king of fairy and god of liminality. So to put it briefly, Annwfn is the Welsh Otherworld or Underworld. So let's dive into some of the lore surrounding Annwfn, and I thought we'd start first and foremost with the name. The name Annwfn, what exactly does it mean? So Annwfn etymologically means the very deep or the intense deep. To give a little insight to those of you who don't speak Welsh, the word for deep in Welsh is usually either divin or dwfn. So you can see it's oven, that last kind of syllable that is in Annwfn. And Annwfn is the very deep. It is very much the intense deep. Perhaps the fact that it's called the very deep is a hint towards where exactly Annwfn is or what exactly it is. So let's ask ourselves, is Annwfn a literal other world? The idea of an other world is very familiar to us nowadays. It plays a role in various pop culture, in movies, television, books and such. There's various depictions of the other world. And the other world is almost always described as a completely separate realm of existence, a mirror image of our own. When you see an other world in pop culture, you usually have to travel through some kind of portal in order to reach the other world. For example, you might have to walk through a portal in the woods, or through a wardrobe, or fall down a rabbit hole. But does that match the description of Annwfn? Well, not quite. A defining feature of Annwfn throughout various folklore and myth is how accessible it is. It's very easy to stumble into Annwfn. For example, in the first branch of the Mabinogi, Pwyll stumbles upon Annwn, the king of the otherworld, and they agree that Pwyll is going to travel to the otherworld with Annwn. And when they travel to the otherworld in the story, there's no portal opening, there's no magic rabbit hole they fall through, they don't appear in a flash of light in Annwfn, there's no otherworldly wormhole that takes them to Annwfn. They simply walk deeper into the forest, into the woods. And this has led a lot of scholars to go, oh, well, in the Mabinogi, Annwfn is in Dyfed, which is the kingdom that Pwyll presides over as a prince of. But to be honest, I don't fully agree with that. I don't agree with the sentiments that Annwfn is specifically in Dyfed. I always interpreted it as that Annwn guided Pwyll to Annwfn. He guided him to the very deep. And I think it's a huge metaphor, the fact that they walk deeper into the woods and then they end up in Annwfn. And this feature, this idea of Annwfn being somewhere that you can just stumble upon or slip into, carried over into the folkloric tradition. There are various folk tales that speak of people walking deep into caves or falling into a lake or a river, and suddenly they're in Annwfn. They're in the realm of fairy. It was that easy to slip into Annwfn. In Prede Annwfn, there's a mention that a numerous amount of ships managed to make it over to Annwfn by travelling over the sea, which has led many to believe that Annwfn is an island, and in many sources it is referred to as an island. But a general theme that seems to exist throughout the mythology and the folklore is that Annwfn is accessible by going deeper into something, whether that's falling into a deep lake, going deep underground, or walking deeper into a dark forest. Annwfn is accessible at the very deepest edges of our land. So is Annwfn another realm in that case? Well, that's one interpretation. The interpretation of Annwfn being a completely other world that is separate and yet deeply connected to our own is one that many people believe. But it's one that I'm starting to move away from within my practice. I don't fully believe now that Annwfn is entirely separate and is a completely other world to our own. Initially, when I first started looking into Annwfn, I assumed that Annwfn was kind of like a mirror image, a flip side of our world, that whatever happened on our world was mirrored over in Annwfn. But nowadays, I'm starting to really enjoy the idea that Annwfn is just a deepening of our own reality. It's a plane of existence that exists completely parallel to our own. The borders between the realms, if any do exist at all, are very, very thin, and to slip through from our world into Annwfn is fairly easy, so long as you know how to journey deeper, whether that's deeper into yourself or deeper into the landscape. The idea of Annwfn being a completely separate realm, one that is entirely different to our own, is more akin to the Christian heaven than it is relevant to any of the actual Celtic lore surrounding Annwfn. Unlike the Christian heaven, there are no set guidelines as to how you can enter Annwfn. It's not a place that you can only access once you've died. It's not a place that is very difficult to get to. You don't have to pay a ferryman to get over there. You don't have to accomplish anything. You can literally either be guided there by entities such as Annwn, or you can just slip in. In the bardic tradition, Annwfn is described as the place, the originator, the source of Annwn. Now, if you don't know what Annwn is, I've done a whole video on Annwn, so go watch that. But to put it briefly, Annwn is the enigmatic force of divine inspiration. It's a force that permeates all things, and the bards, the poets, the artists of this landscape tap into Annwn in order to inspire themselves. Ceridwen, the witch goddess, brewed a potion of Annwn, and that potion was said to hold the virtues of the knowledge of all of existence. So Annwn is a pretty big deal. And it is said in the bardic tradition that Annwfn is where Annwn originates from. It's the source of all Annwn. And so the bards connect to Annwfn in order to pull Annwn towards them. Yr Annwn a ganaf, or dwfn y dygaf. The Annwn I sing, from the deep I bring it. Could it be then that Annwfn could also just be a deep state of existence? A place that is not quite a place. A space that one enters into when transcending deeper into the divine magic of the land and into ourselves. A space that one can be when you have a deep connection with the gods and with the landscape. The idea that the bards pull Annwn out of Annwfn implies this to me. That Annwn is not just an other world, but is a deeper state of existence. It's the idea that you could be very much here, in this space, in this realm, but could also be in Annwfn. Now that's all very complex, I'm not going to get too much into it. Now in mythology, Annwfn is described as a land of plenty, especially in the Mabinogi. When Pwyll arrives in Annwn's kingdom, everything is beautiful, including the people, there's plentiful food, and everything just seems perfect. So it is described as a heavenly place. And I think it's very interesting that the depictions of Annwfn that we have, where it is described as a literal other world and a land of plenty, stems from medieval texts and Welsh literature that was recorded by Christian monks. Perhaps another hint at the fact that Annwfn being an entirely different other world might have more to do with the Christian heaven or hell than it has anything to do with any ancient Celtic belief. In the medieval texts, Annwfn is a parallel of Welsh society, one singular realm that is divided into various kingdoms. That very much is what Wales was like during the medieval period. Wales was one nation that was divided into various kingdoms, ruled by various kings, and often these kings would be at war with one another. So it's very interesting that in the texts, such as the Mabinogi, that is how Annwfn is also described, very much a mirror image of our own society. So in conclusion, Annwfn is many things. Annwfn is an other world, a world that is a mirror, a parallel to our own, and yet is highly accessible and easy to enter into or slip into by mistake. In folklore, it is the realm of fairy, the realm where the fair folk and the fair family live. Terms that describe fairies in Wales include the Gwragedd Annwfn, the wives of the deep, or the wives of the otherworld, and Plant Annwfn, the children of the otherworld, or children of the deep. Could the children of Annwfn, or the wives of Annwfn, be echoes of old gods from ancient Celtic lore that have just slowly over time, and as they trickled into the folkloric system, been turned into fairies? Possibly. To the bards, it is the place where all inspiration flows from. And to many today, it is a liminal space, a place beyond and betwixt, a realm of the dead and a realm of fairy. But I offer this to you today. Could Annwfn also be a deepening of our own existence? Could it be a realm that one can access when we journey further into ourselves and into a connection with the land itself? Could it be a place that we can access and operate within when we delve deeper into our awenyddiaeth, our journey into being divinely inspired and divinely led? So that's it for today. Annwfn is a very complex topic, so I'm going to offer you some other places that you can read or listen or learn about Annwfn. First and foremost, I would suggest that you read the texts in which Annwfn is mentioned. So for example, get yourself a copy of the Mabinogi. I very much recommend the Sioned Davies translation. And also, indulge yourself in some folklore. Find some old folktales that mention Annwfn. Read Prede Annwfn, the spoils of Annwfn, and buy yourself the Book of Taliesin. Beyond that, I'm going to link in the description below the videos of Dr. Gwilym Morris. Gwilym Morris is an amazing scholar who has an entire channel dedicated to Celtic information. He's very much an academic, and so his videos are well researched and well put out, and his videos have been a huge inspiration and a huge initiator of me learning the things that I have. You can follow him as Celtic Source here on YouTube or on Facebook, so the links to his pages will be down below in the description. Beyond that, you can also read the books by Christopher Hughes, such as these ones, the Book of Celtic Magic and Ceridwen, Celtic Goddess of Inspiration. And of course, you can also look forward to the book that I'm bringing out in February of 2022. Welsh Witchcraft, a guide to the spirits, lore and magic of Wales. And yes, there is a whole section dedicated to Annwfn, the Welsh Celtic otherworld. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video today. I know it was short and sweet, but Annwfn is a complex topic that I couldn't delve entirely into in just one video, so perhaps one day we'll talk about it again. Please support me via my other platforms, as well as YouTube. I have a TikTok account where I post funny little videos all about folklore and such. I also have a Facebook page and an Instagram and a Twitter, so find me on there. You can also support me on Patreon for as little as £1 a month. I'm in a very tumultuous area of my life right now where there's a lot going on. I have a book coming out, I'm constantly being asked to do certain things. So I do try and put as much as I can on my Patreon, but being so busy, I do need time for myself as well. But as things start to calm down, I'll definitely be posting non-stop on my Patreon. All my patrons get access to a exclusive Facebook group that only people who are part of my Patreon can join, where I post little insights into Welsh lore, updates about my life and what I'm working on, and also little bits of information and links to other sources where you can learn about Welsh folklore. So if you want to join a community that talks about Welsh folklore and magic, come join us on Patreon. Those in the higher tiers also get offered a spell of the month as well as an exclusive video. This month we're talking about Braint, the Welsh goddess of spring and healing. So I want to give a huge shout out to all my patrons. I'm going to read out their names now. So a huge thank you to Amy, Gede? I'm sorry. Moonflower Herbal, Sophie Dowden, Anastasia Ackers, Leah, Heather, Kyra, Cynthia, Nicole, Lindy, Shelley, Kieran, Angela, Kelly, Judith, Jennifer, Fawn, Julie, Alistair, Michelle, Victoria, Ethan, Dean, Rowan, Kira, Creep and Weep, ooh. Caden, Aster, Laura, Sophie, Christina, Victoria, Toronto Raven, Isabel, By the Briar, Rebecca Seawright, Vivian, Kimberly, Gwyn, Tammy, August, Jackie, Molotov Chicken, Janine, Isabel, Hester, and Corey. Thank you all so much for continually supporting me, and I promise you there is so much more coming to my Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.